I never imagined my retirement party would end with me packing my bags in the dark. For 37 years, I had worked at Henderson County Library. I knew every corner of that building. The way the morning light fell through the tall windows near the reference section, the smell of old books mixed with fresh coffee from the break room, the faces of patrons who had grown from children, checking out picture books to parents, bringing their own little ones. My name is Dorothy Banks. On the morning of my retirement, I woke up in the house I'd lived in for 40 years. The same house where I raised my daughter Rachel after my husband Tom passed when she was only 12. That little blue house on Maple Street had seen so much life. Birthday parties and homework sessions. Quiet dinners and loud arguments during the teenage years. Graduations and holidays. Rachel was my only child. After Tom died, I poured everything into raising her. I worked extra shifts at the library. I saved every penny I could. I wanted her to have opportunities I never had. She went to college, got her business degree, married a man named Derek who worked in finance. They lived in a big house across town with a pool and a 3-car garage. The retirement party was lovely. My coworkers had decorated the community room with streamers and balloons. There was a cake with a frosting book that said, "Happy Retirement, Dorothy." People told stories about me helping them find just the right book. Young mothers thanked me for the story time hours I had hosted for 20 years. I smiled and hugged people and felt grateful. Rachel arrived late. She walked in wearing an expensive pantsuit and barely glanced at the decorations. She didn't talk to my coworkers. She stood in the corner looking at her phone. When it was time to cut the cake, she came over and stood next to me for photos. Her smile was tight. Her eyes were somewhere else. We drove home separately. I had invited her for dinner. Just the two of us. I made her favorite meal. Pot roast with carrots and potatoes. The same meal I made every Sunday when she was growing up. I set the table with the good dishes. I lit a candle. She picked at her food. I asked about her husband and her work. She gave short answers. Then I brought out the papers. I had been thinking about this for months. I had worked with a lawyer. I wanted to make sure Rachel was taken care of. I had my retirement savings. I had the house that was paid off. I had a life insurance policy. I wanted to add her name to everything. I wanted her to know she would always be secure. I slid the papers across the table. I explained what they were. Her eyes scanned the documents. For a moment, I saw something flicker across her face. Interest, maybe. Or calculation. Then she looked up at me. Her expression was cold. It was a look I had never seen before. Or maybe I had seen it, but never wanted to believe it. Finally, she said. Her voice was flat. "I was wondering when you would get around to this." Felt confused. I smiled. "I wanted to make sure you're taken care of," I said. She laughed. It was not a warm sound. "You're only good for your money, old hag." The words hung in the air between us. I felt like I had been slapped. I stared at my daughter. At this woman I had raised. This person I had sacrificed everything for. "Rachel," I whispered. "Why would you say that?" She stood up. She grabbed her purse. "Oh, please. Don't act surprised. You've always known this is how it works. You have money. I need money. Derek's business isn't doing well. We have expenses. This house alone will sell for a good amount." My hands were shaking. "This is my home," she shrugged. "You're retired now. You don't need all this space. We can find you a nice little apartment. Something affordable." I looked at her. Really looked at her. I saw the designer purse. The expensive shoes. The watch that probably cost more than I made in a month. I thought about all the times she had canceled our lunch plans. All the holidays she came late and left early. All the phone calls that went to voicemail. "I think you should leave," I said quietly. She rolled her eyes. "Fine. Call me when you're ready to be reasonable about this." She walked to the door. Then she turned back. "And Mom, don't be difficult about this. It's just business." The door closed behind her. I sat at the table with the pot roast getting cold, with the papers that would have given her everything, with the candles still burning. I did not sleep that night. I sat in my living room and I thought, I thought about Tom, about how he used to say that people show you who they are if you pay attention. I thought about all the little signs I had ignored. I thought about what kind of mother I had been, what kind of daughter I had raised up. By morning, I knew what I needed to do. I called my lawyer. I told him I had changed my mind about the papers. I wanted to make some different arrangements. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said he understood. He said he would help me. Over the next few weeks, I worked on my plan. I sold the house. It hurt to leave that blue house on Maple Street, but it did not feel like home anymore. Not after what Rachel had said. I took the money from the sale and I invested it carefully. I set up accounts that Rachel could not touch. I found a small apartment near the lake. It had big windows and a little balcony. I could see the water from my kitchen. I bought simple furniture. I kept only what I needed. Then I did something I had always wanted to do. I started volunteering at a women's shelter. I read to the children there. I helped mothers fill out job applications. I donated money for supplies and programs. These women and children had nothing, but they were fighting to build better lives. They reminded me of myself when Tom died. Scared but determined. Rachel called 6 months later. She wanted to have lunch. She sounded friendly, almost sweet. I agreed to meet her. She was shocked when I told her I had sold the house. "Where's the money?" she asked. Her voice was sharp. "I'm using it," I said calmly. "I'm living on it. I'm donating some of it. I'm finally doing things I always wanted to do." Her face turned red. "But what about me? What about my inheritance?" I looked at her. I felt sad but also peaceful. "Rachel, I've spent my whole life giving to you. I sacrificed everything. And you told me I was only good for my money. So I decided to spend my money on people who see me as more than that." She started to argue. She said she didn't mean it. She said she was having a bad day. She said I was being selfish. I stood up. I put money on the table for my coffee. "I love you, Rachel," I said, "but I won't let you treat me that way. Maybe someday you'll understand." That was 3 years ago. Rachel and I have a distant relationship now. We exchange cards on birthdays. Sometimes we have brief phone calls. She never apologized. But I stopped waiting for one. I turned 70 last month. The women and children at the shelter threw me a small party. They made cards and sang to me. A little girl named Emma gave me a drawing she made. It showed 2 stick figures holding hands. "That's you and me," she said. I have that drawing on my refrigerator now. Next to photos of my coworkers from the library. Next to a postcard from a friend I made at a book club. My retirement is not what I planned, but it is mine. I wake up each morning and decide how to spend my day. I help people who need help. I read books I never had time for. I watch the sun set over the lake. Some people might say, I got revenge on Rachel. Maybe I did. But really, I just chose myself. I chose my peace. I chose to spend my remaining years surrounded by people who value me, and that feels like the best retirement gift I could have given myself.